Okay, I think I'm where I'm okay with it, at least. Not perfect, but, learning. Wait, when I said I was gonna release this? Oh my god. I'm a bit out of my depth here. Hmm. Back in the 2000s, we were introduced to this little trailer. It showcased what the game was promised to be. Now, this is a point in history that not many people were super familiar with. This was the Third Crusade. While many people know of it, not many people know it, so to speak. Historical figures, the factions that were fighting in it, and so on. So this is a pretty good place to start for the series. They could be a little bit looser with the history and still come out with a pretty historically accurate game. How the game starts is a little bit off compared to the trailer. While there was some digital effects used to make it seem like it's a bit of a simulation, I don't remember if it was explicitly said to be. But keep in mind, I was like young when this game came out, like a kid. But anyway, it starts with a bit of a glitchy simulation thing. Crowds of faceless people, images flashing before you. Then we're pulled out. We're introduced to the modern plotline, something that wasn't really shown in the cinematic trailer. To make a long story short, it's between the Assassins and the Templars. Two factions that have been going against each other for millennia. Though their names have changed, their motives and purpose have been similar over the centuries. While they both claim to fight for peace, one fights for freedom, believing that peace can only be properly achieved through free will, while the other seeks order, believing that full control is the only way you can properly achieve peace. Now, there's something to be said about both of these ideologies, but that's not why we're here. I'm here to discuss how the game played and my reactions to it, both as I saw it as a child and as I see it now as a full-grown adult, looking back on it now. And as an adult, holy shit, this tutorial goes on for fucking ever. I had to speed this up 2,000%. 2,000%. This is 200 times faster than the video that I recorded. And it's 22 seconds. Holy shit. Anyway, after the lengthy tutorial, we are introduced to our main character, Altair, and he is murdering an old man. Now, after this kill, you explain to your subordinate what the mission is about. The master, Al-Mualim, who literally translates to the mentor, has tasked you with finding a treasure. Now, while you don't know the specifics of this treasure, it's important. Hence why he sent you, apparently. As you travel through the temple and kill a guard on the way, with a little bit of jank spiced in, you eventually reach the main chamber, and you see the Ark of the Covenant? Anyway, after you see the Ark, one of the main antagonists walks in. Robert de Sable. Sable? He is leading the expedition to recover whatever treasure is there. And while Altair sees this as an opportune time to take his life, one of his subordinates pushes back, saying that it's not necessary. And Altair counters, well, A, I'm in charge, so fuck you. B, he's in the way, so I believe it's necessary. So of course this master assassin with so much skill is going to be able to, and he flipped it. Yeah, this results in the death of one and the grievous bodily harm to another. But we'll talk about that later. For now, we gotta escape. So we do. Then we reach back to Masyaf, the real-life headquarters for the Syrian assassins. Now, the assassins are loosely based off the Syrian assassins, but the real-life Syrian assassins are more contract killers than they were fighting for a noble cause.
My thanks, brother. Safety and peace, Altair. On you as well.
You go back to Al-Mualim, and on the way, you run into Abbas. He's never mentioned again in this entire game. When you return to Al-Mualim, you speak of your failure, which he's pissed about. You go, there was nothing I could do. And then Malik walks back in, one of your subordinates, who is going to lose that arm, saying that his brother died in the process, but he was able to recover the treasure. You know, completely curb stomping Altair's reputation. But before anything can happen, an attack happens. Robert decided to attack Masyaf. So you go to defend Masyaf, and you got a call back. Well, it's time to regroup and re-strategize, and where are we going? What are we doing? What? You want me to kill myself? Well, it's what the master wants, right? Yeah, no, this is a leap of faith. This is a staple of the series where you jump off a high ledge and land in a safe place. Anyway, after we survive, one of our friends doesn't make it, and we get to see a little bit of medieval medicine. Anyway, after this, we set off a trap, and we thwart the attack. And as thanks for our efforts for driving off the enemy, we get stabbed. But anyway, after this, we get pulled out again. The two researchers have an argument.
He's been in there way too long.
No, not yet.
And then I get sent to bed, you know, like a toddler. Oh, by the way, a little tangent here. Why is this the only bit of subtitle we get in the first game? After this, I get woken up by a creepy man staring at me. And then he discusses philosophy with me. Now, there are conversations between both Desmond and the doctor. I honestly forget his name right now. I'm going to put his name up right now. Anyway, you constantly have conversations with him about philosophy of the world, and even Desmond mentioning that, hey, some of this history doesn't make sense, especially since of what I know about history. I will get into that later, but in the game's context, this is described as being the true history, as books can be rewritten and such, even citing the Bible as being one of the most famous books that may have rewritten history. And there are arguments for whether this is true or not in the real world, but I'm not here to discuss that. Again, this is about the game. Anyway, after the conversation, we go back inside the Animus, and Altair's alive. He goes like, yeah, I wanted you to see this, so you saw it. Anyway, go find the traitor. And you go back into the village, and you're stopped by basically an initiate who tries to give you a rundown on how investigations go. For each target, you have to investigate them, figure out what they're doing, where they are, and so on. While you don't need to find every single investigation point throughout the game, you need a minimum of 2 for the first 3 targets, 1 in each city. And then for every 2 targets in each city after that, you need 3 investigations. Now, the tutorial teaches you the 3 main ones: eavesdropping,
Probably inside one of his own baskets.
pickpocketing,
Is this about the letter?
What letter?
and interrogation, which is just beating the shit out of somebody. Now, in the towns, there's a 4th one, a help mission. While these can range from a flag race, which I got no footage of, and quick little mini assassinations, It's their timed events that you do for the guy, and he'll give you information. Anyway, for this one in particular, we do the 3, which eventually leads us to the guy who betrayed the assassins, who opened the gate for the Templars. After we drag him back to the mentor, he interrogates himself, basically going, why? Why would you do this? And he went, because fuck you, that's why. And then he stabbed him. After that, you receive the sword that was used in the stabbing, and also the hidden blade. This game franchise's iconic weapon. After this, you get a quick tutorial, which you'll get a tutorial after you learn every major skill after that, but quite honestly, they're not super important. You can honestly skip them if you want to. But I did them real quick just to get them out of the way. Now, for the first 3 missions, there will be a repeating process. Run through Masyaf, get on a horse, ride through the kingdom, and go to the city. After these first three assassinations in each city, you can fast travel through the kingdom, so you don't really need to go through the kingdom yourself. Now, if you're a completionist and want to get all the flags, all the Templar kills, and all the viewpoints, yeah, you might want to spend more time in the kingdom, but it's honestly not really necessary. Anyway, now why are we in Damascus? Oh, right. The mentor gave us 9 targets to kill, the first one being in Damascus. This target being Tamir, an arms merchant who seems to be selling to both the Saracens and the Crusaders, profiteering off the war. Now, you complete investigations like you did in the past tutorial, and then you report to the Rafik. Now, admittedly, I didn't know Rafik was a title. I thought it was a name, like the monkey from Lion King. My bad. Anyway, you report to him, you tell him what you found, and he'll give you a feather, which they call a marker. This is used to confirm the kill whenever you do kill the target. Now that's over, we run over to the target area and we meet the target. This will cue a short cutscene to where you get to witness the acts of the target. Usually them doing a despicable act, like this.
Kept your mouth shut. No, stop. Stop? I'm just getting started. No, stop. You came into my souk, stood before my men, and dared to insult me? No. Leave the body. Let this be a lesson to the rest of you. Think twice before you tell me something cannot be done.
After the cutscene ends, we're given control again, and we can move in for the kill. After you kill each target, they'll have a little confession.
You'll pay for this. You and all your kind. It seems you're the one pays now, my friend. You'll not profit from suffering any longer.
You think me some petty death dealer, suckling at the breast of war? A strange target, don't you think? Why me, when so many others do the same?
You believe yourself different then.
Oh, but I am. For I serve a far nobler cause than mere profit. Just like my brothers.
Brothers.
Ah, but he thinks I act alone. I am but a piece. A man with a part to play. You'll come to know the others soon enough. They won't take kindly to what you've done.
Good. I look forward to ending their lives as well.
Such pride. It will destroy you, child.
Let go your burden.
I'll rest now, yes. The endless dream calls to me. But before I close my eyes, I must know what will become of my children.
You mean the people made to suffer your cruel experiments? They'll be free now to return to their homes.
Homes? What homes? The sewers? The brothels? The prisons that we dragged them from?
You took these people against their will.
Yes. What little will there was for them to have. Are you really so naive? Do you appease a crying child simply because he wails? But I want to play with fire, Father. What would you say? As you wish. Ah. But then you'd answer for his burn.
These are not children, but men and women full grown.
In body, perhaps, but not in mind. Which is the very damage I sought to repair. I admit, without the piece of Eden, which you stole from us, my progress was slowed. But there are herbs, mixtures, and extracts. My guards are proof of this. They were madmen before I found and freed them from the prisons of their own minds. And with my death, madmen they will be again.
You truly believe you were helping them?
It's not what I believe. It's what I know.
Then Talal, a slaver from
You know where to
Jerusalem.
run now. Share your secrets with me.
My part is plain. The Brotherhood is not so weak that my death will stop its work.
What brotherhood?
Al-Mualim is not the only one with designs upon the Holy Land. And that's all you'll have from me.
Then we are finished. Beg forgiveness from your god.
He's long abandoned us. Long abandoned the men and women I took into my arms.
What do you mean?
Beggars, whores, addicts, lepers. Do they strike you as proper slaves? Unfit for even the most menial tasks? No. I took them not to sell, but to save. And yet you'd kill us all. For no other reason than it was asked of you.
No. You profit from the war. From lives lost and broken.
Yes, you would think that, ignorant as you are. Wall off your mind. They say it's what your kind do best. Do you see the irony in all this? No, not yet, it seems. But you will.
Then Abu Nakwad? Anyway, Abul is the regent of Damascus, the richest merchant.
Be at peace now. Their words can no longer do harm.
Why have you done this?
You stole money from those you claim to lead. Sent it away for some unknown purpose. I want to know where it's gone and why.
Look at me. My very nature is an affront to the people I ruled. And these noble robes did little more than to muffle their shouts of hate.
So this is about vengeance, then?
No, not vengeance, but my conscience. How could I finance a war in service to the same god that calls me an abomination?
If you do not serve Salah ad-Din's cause, then whose?
In time, you'll come to know them. I think perhaps you already do.
Then why hide? And why these dark deeds?
Is it so different from your own work? You take the lives of men and women, strong in the conviction that their deaths will improve the lots of those left behind. A minor evil for a greater good? We are the same.
No, we are nothing alike.
Ah, but I see it in your eyes. You doubt. You cannot stop us. We will have our new world.
Then William of Montferrat.
Your schemes are at an end.
What do you know of my work?
I know that you are going to murder Richard and claim Akka for your son Conrad.
For Conrad, my son is an arse, unfit to lead his host, let alone a kingdom. And Richard, the Ancino is no better, blinded as he is by faith in the insubstantial. Acre does not belong to either of them.
Then who?
The city belongs to its people.
How can you claim to speak for the citizens? You stole their food, disciplined them without mercy, forced them into service under you.
Everything I did to prepare them for the new world. Stole their food? No.
I took possession so that when the lean times came, it might be rationed properly. Look around. My district is without crime, save those committed by you and your ilk. And as for the conscription, they were not being trained to fight. They were being taught the merits of order and discipline. These things are hardly evil.
No matter how noble you believe your intentions, these acts are cruel and cannot continue.
We'll see how sweet they are, the fruits of your labors. You do not free the cities as you believe, but rather damn them. And in the end, you'll have only yourself to blame. You who speak of good intentions.
Then, Majd Adin.
Your work here is finished.
No, no! It had only just begun!
Tell me, what's your part in all of this? Do you intend to defend yourself as the others have and explain away your evil deeds?
The Brotherhood wanted the city. I wanted power. There was an opportunity.
An opportunity to murder innocents.
Not so innocent. Dissident voices cut deep as steel. They disrupt order. In this, I do agree with the Brotherhood.
You'd kill people simply for believing differently than you.
Of course not. I killed them because I could. Because it was fun. Do you know what it feels like to determine another man's fate? And did you see the way the people cheered? The way they feared me? I was like a god. You'd have done the same if you could. Such power.
Once perhaps. But then I learned what becomes of those who lift themselves above others.
And what is that?
Here, let me show you.
After this, Jubair al-Hakim.
Why have you done this?
Men must be free to do what they believe. It is not our right to punish one for thinking what they do, no matter how much we disagree.
Then what?
You of all people should know the answer. Educate them. Teach them right from wrong. It must be knowledge that frees them, not force.
They do not learn, fixed in their ways as they are. You are naive to think otherwise. It's an illness for which there is but one cure.
You're wrong, and that's why you must be put to rest.
Am I not unlike those precious books you seek to save? A source of knowledge with which you disagree, yet you're rather quick to steal my life.
A small sacrifice to save many. It is necessary.
Is it not ancient scrolls that inspire the Crusaders? That fill Salah ad-Din and his men with a sense of righteous fury? Their texts endanger others, bring death in their wake. I too was making a small sacrifice. It matters little now. Your deed is done, and so am I.
And then, Sabrand.
Please, don't do this.
You are afraid.
Of course I am afraid.
But you'll be safe now, held in the arms of your god.
Have my brothers taught you nothing? I know what waits for me. For all of us.
If not your god, then what?
Nothing. Nothing waits. And that is what I fear.
You don't believe.
How could I, given what I know? What I've seen? Our treasure was the proof.
Proof of what?
That this life is all we have.
Linger a while longer then, and tell me of the part you were to play.
A blockade by sea. To keep the fool kings and queens from sending reinforcements. Once we...
Conquered the Holy Land?
freed it, you fool. From the tyranny of faith.
Freedom? You worked to overthrow cities, control men's minds, murdered any who spoke against you.
I followed my orders, believing in my cause. Same as you.
Then we have one from a fictional character named Maria Thorpe. She isn't really important to the story. Basically just a fake out.
Eyes before you die.
I sense you expected someone else.
What sorcery is this?
No sorcery. We knew you'd come. Robert needed to be sure he'd have time to get away.
So he flees.
We cannot deny your success. You have laid waste to our plans. First the treasure, then our men. Control of the Holy Land slipped away. But then he saw an opportunity to reclaim what has been stolen, to turn your victories to our advantage.
Al-Muallim still holds your treasure, and we've routed your army before. Whatever Robert plans, he'll fail again.
Ah, but it's not just Templars you'll contend with now.
Speak sense.
Robert rides for Arthur to plead his case that Saracen and Crusader unite against the Assassins.
That will never happen. They have no reason to.
Had, perhaps. But now you've given them one. 9, in fact. The bodies you've left behind, victims on both sides. You've made the Assassins an enemy in common and ensured the annihilation of your entire order. Well done.
Not 9. 8.
What do you mean?
You are not my target. I will not take your life. You're free to go, but do not follow me.
After letting Maria go, you go to chase down Robert.
We'll see.
And in order to do that, to go to Battleground. And before you even reach them, you gotta go through wave after wave of Saracen and eventually Crusader. Yeah, this takes a minute. So long, in fact, I got an achievement for being in combat so long. When you confront Robert de Sable, he's right next to King Richard I. Anyway, you fight him, and then you kill him. But he drops the knowledge on you.
It's done then. Your schemes, like you, are put to rest.
You know nothing of schemes. You're but a puppet. He betrayed you, boy. Just as he betrayed me.
Speak sense, Templar. Or not at all.
9 men he sent you to kill, yes? The 9 who guarded the treasure's secret.
What of it?
It wasn't 9 who found the treasure, assassin. Not 9, but 10.
A 10th? None may live who carry the secret. Give me his name.
Oh, but you know him well. And I doubt very much you'd take his life as willingly as you've taken mine.
Who?
It is your master, Al-Muallim.
But he is not a Templar.
Did you never wonder how it is he knew so much? Where to find us, how many we numbered, what we aspired to attain?
He is the master of the Assassins.
We, master of lies. You and I just 2 more pawns in his grand game. And now, with my death, only you remain. Do you think he'll let you live, knowing what you do?
I've no interest in the treasure.
Ah, but he does. The only difference between your master and I is that he did not want to share.
No.
Ironic, isn't it? That I, your greatest enemy, kept you safe from harm. But now you've taken my life, and in the process, ended your own.
After this one ends, you have a little conversation with King Richard. Without making you sit through all of it, he and Altair debate whether or not he should talk to Saladin, put an end to the war, claiming it's what the people want, not just civilians, but the soldiers on both sides. Richard claims that Saladin is barbarian, and that it will never happen, at least not right now. Maybe someday. But anyway, after this, we gotta go deal with something. Al-Muallim. After we get back, the whole village is mind-controlled.
What path? What are you talking about?
And it's hard to figure out why.
Speak sense.
There is only what the Master shows us. This is the truth.
You've lost your mind.
As we move forward, we eventually meet other assassins, and they're also brainwashed. brainwashed to fight you. After you defend yourself for a while, unfortunately killing your brothers, you're saved by Malik. He had become a Rafik in Jerusalem, and while he was very hostile to Altair initially, he had time to reflect and understand that he has changed, and that he's become better, and has a newfound respect for Altair.
Have you forgotten the meaning of subtlety?
After they talk plans a little bit, he rushes off to go help the village, while you go to deal with the mentor. As you enter the courtyard, you see all the villagers. They're standing as human shields, trying to block the way for Altair, but they move aside really easily. And the mentor is there, ready to fight you. Al-Mualim uses the treasure, the Apple of Eden, to restrict your movement briefly. He taunts you with it. He uses it to create illusions, first of your former targets, then of himself. And eventually, you do kill him, and you get to hear his final words.
Impossible. The student does not defeat the teacher.
الشيء واقع مطلق بل كل ممكن.
So it seems. You have won then. Go and claim your prize.
You held fire in your hand, old man. It should have been destroyed.
Destroy the only thing capable of ending the Crusades and creating true peace? Never.
Then I will.
We'll see about that.
And you still hear his voice as you go to destroy the relic. And the relic shows a map of the world, showing beacons in certain locations. And as this happens, you're pulled out again. Real quick, I like how they just used a modern globe as the render for that, because all the countries' borders and everything are superimposed onto the globe. Like, I'm not faulting them, but it would have been... It's just funny to me. They honestly could have just erased the lines. Anyway, you're woken up and basically told, yeah, you're gonna die. Your usefulness is over.
Wait. You know how these
But the lady, she saves us,
will be able to walk right in.
saying that you could still be useful.
We might need him. His memories.
But after that, they both leave. And you're left... Oh yeah, Eagle Vision's the thing.
What the hell is that?
But there's some weird markings. As you move back into your room, you see a wall.
Oh my god.
A wall covered in images. This has been flashed every night before you went to bed, but never the full picture.
What happened to him?
What is this? What are these mysterious symbols? What do they mean?
I wonder.
That's where the game leads us. And that was the game. A pretty basic, straightforward game. But there's one thing that many people talk about with these games. What about historical accuracy? Well, what is historical accuracy? Is it the setting, the events, or even the historical figures? Well, I have a real question. How important is it? That's an argument being had by a lot of people. Now, if we're going to go fully into historical accuracy with this game, then these four characters should not exist. They weren't real. These four were just basically an amalgamation of character tropes. A greedy arms dealer, a slaver who thinks he's actually helping them, a rich man who looks down on the poor, and a power-hungry psychopath. These six were the only real historical figures. King Richard was obviously a real person, as well as Saladin. However, these guys only really show up twice, and they aren't really important besides like conversation with Richard, and Saladin being mentioned frequently by town criers. But let's talk about each of the real characters. Who were they, and how are they different? Garnier was in fact a Grand Master of the Knights Hospitaller. He did set up and work in hospitals. Now, he looks like an old-ass man, don't he? He was 44. Not to mention that he died a year later. Then we have William. Now, in the game he looks really young, but in reality he was an elderly man. He was called William the Old to differentiate from his son, William Longsword. And while he was an acre a little bit, he actually died in Tyr in the same year, which is in a completely different country of Lebanon, rather than, yes, in Israel. So, the time is right, but the place is wrong. And he's also not an old-ass man. Then, we have Sibrand. Sibrand was considered the first Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights. However, they weren't recognized as an order until a year after the events of the game. And on top of that, not even considered military order until 1198, 7 years after the events of the game. Then with Jublair. He was a very well-known scholar, and he was well-traveled. He was born in Islamic Spain and traveled a lot of the known world at the time. And honestly, if he could see his depiction in this game, he'd be disgusted. There is plenty of documentation about his life and adventures. He's probably the most, one of the most documented characters from this game. He ended up living until 1217, so over 20 years after the events of the game. And then, Robert de Sable. And unlike what the game portrays him as, he's not a big historical figure. He became the Grand Master of the Knights Templar pretty early, being only a knight of them only 2 years. And he was basically second in command to King Richard. He almost always supported him. He died 2 years after the events of the game. And finally, what I think some people will be surprised by, Al-Mualim. Now, his real name is never actually said in the game. He's just known as Al-Mualim, which translates to the mentor. But his real name is Rashid ad-Din Sinan. And he was the head of the Syrian assassins during the Third Crusades. Now, the game may make it seem like that he supports Saladin more than King Richard, and in fact, in real history, he was more against Saladin than he was Richard. Now, again, the question, is it important? Kind of. Now, they got the setting done really well. The Third Crusade, they portrayed the chaos of the region really well. In the kingdom, you're attacked by almost everybody. So, they definitely got the fog of war right with the soldiers. However, there are some historical figures that they tweaked, if not completely changed to fit the story. And while I would normally decry this, I think it's a decent change. The whole game's premise is to show, quote, true history, the conflict between two secret orders over thousands of years. And if they have to change some historical figures in order to do that for a fictional game, I don't mind too much. Now, with that being said, here's a question that I have to ask you. Is this game series historical fiction, or is it historical fantasy? Now, some of you may think, aren't those the same thing? Kind of. Historical fiction takes a historical setting and tells a fictional story within that setting. Say, you take a young boy who wants to join the war in Vietnam. He lies about his age and he goes to war. And while the characters are clearly fake, the setting and the events that happen in the game are true. or can be seen as true. It's not too fantastical. A battle that happens could be seen as happening in real life, and so on and so forth. Historical fantasy will take historical settings and then add fantastical elements to it. Like, I wonder what could be seen as a fantastical element in this game. With historical fantasy 2, it's definitely easier to do an alternate history type of story, especially since, well, you're already changing the majority of history. Why not change the events that happen as well? So, in my opinion, historical accuracy matters with context. If the game marketed itself as a true retelling of historical events, or a game that's just set in a historical setting, I would argue that historical accuracy is very important. Say, like the Battlefield games. Many people argue that some aspects of the game were not historically accurate, and the company said it doesn't matter, it's a fictional game. But they also claimed to be portraying how the war was fought, and so on. So when they changed events, or they changed who was on what side, and so on, that definitely matters. Now, for Assassin's Creed, in some aspects of the game, no, it doesn't matter as much. Like that Minotaur I showed on the trailer. Well, you could argue that that can fit because it's in ancient Greece, and that's an ancient Greek myth. But it's also taking place during an actual historical event that happened, the Peloponnesian War. So, does it fit? It depends on context, but I'll get to that whenever I get to that game. Now, does it matter that some of these characters are fake? And some of their characteristics are completely changed? Not really. Arguably, yes, it's important because you're misrepresenting some of the characters, but at the same time, I believe there's enough in this game to prove that they weren't going for pure historical accuracy. They were going for a general setting and then add some fantastical elements here and there. So what if Garnier is a bit of a overzealous man about fixing, quote-unquote, the broken and deformed? So what if William's not an old-ass man? So what if not everything is completely to the letter? Now, I'm not saying that they should ignore historical accuracy entirely. If you're claiming to have a period of time where people either existed or were somewhere during that time period, I think it's important to adhere to that. But you can't expect people to be 100% accurate all the time. People make mistakes, or they just feel that in order to embrace the fun of the game, they need to make a couple of changes. Nothing too wrong with that, right? I mean, a blade that can be hidden on your wrist and extended at your own will? Hell, we have trouble to manage that even today, let alone in the medieval period. So, why not let them be a little bit loose about some stuff? To an extent, of course. Alright, thank you for making this far, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, coming up next is going to be the SEO collection. I have all the footage already recorded for that. I initially planned to put these two videos together, but I decided to use this as a bit of a learning experience. Until then, we'll be posting more videos of just us playing stuff for a little bit, and I'll be linking my Twitch channel in the description if you want to watch me do my recording sessions for these Assassin's Creed games. I have no real schedule when I do and don't stream, so don't expect a consistent schedule, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll come back to watch other stuff, and I hope you'll keep coming on this journey with me. Thank you.